Making headlines first at 9. Handing over. The agreement to hand over the Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital to the government penned today as government stresses country needs more medical colleges.
First at 9. This is Derana 24/7.
Also making headlines tonight, continuing problem. The Government Medical Officers Association says takeover is not a solution. Also questions the taking over of a loss-making institution. Unity government. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe reiterates that national government should continue despite difficulties faced by both the parties. Eradication of financial crimes. Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira says that Sri Lanka is fully committed to wipe out financial crimes. And in international headlines, crisis in Qatar. Qatar hits out at United Arab Emirates over Al Jazeera hacking. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Tonight we begin our broadcast with the latest on the issue related to the South Asian Institute of Technology and Medicine. With SITEM constantly dominating headlines in the country of late, the issue may be one step closer to a solution after today's handing over of the Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital in Malmö to the government. Speaking at the ceremony marking the handover, Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne said that the country needs many more medical colleges in order to establish an advanced healthcare service.
The handing over agreement was signed this morning at a ceremony on hospital premises presided over by President Maithripala Sirisena. Dr. Neville Fernando, Minister of Health Dr. Rajitha Senaratne and Minister of Higher Education Lakshman Kiriyalla were present at the occasion.
I did not start SITEM with the intention of making money. Back in 2005, the Minister of Higher Education said that 250,000 students sit for the advanced level examinations, but only 18,000 of them get selected out of the 100,000 students who are eligible for universities. He asked anybody with money to come and build a private medical college, and I started this upon his request. A lot of students obtained 3 A's and still couldn't get into a government university. Such students have a future through SITEM.
The agreement was signed by Dr. Neville Fernando, the Secretary to the Ministry of Health Anurajaya Wickrama and the General Manager of the Bank of Ceylon, D.M. Gunasekara. Accordingly, health services will begin on the 1st of August.
Many newspapers cited that the government is taking over the Neville Fernando Hospital along with its debt burden. That's an utter lie. This is more of a gift than a takeover. Also, Dr. Neville has personally signed an agreement to pay the entirety of his debt. This country did not have a set of standards regarding medical education. The fault is not that of SITEM. Dr. Neville asked for the minimum standards in the year 2009, but the then chairman of the Medical Council said that there is no such standard. So, who should be blamed for that? There are only 65 doctors per 100,000 people in the country today. But if we are to develop healthcare services in the country, we need to have at least 200 doctors per 100,000. So, we need many more such medical colleges in the country. I assure that no staff members will lose their job. We promise to further develop the medical college.
Now, several members of trade unions, organizations and members of political parties expressed their views about the takeover of the Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital.
The takeover of the Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital by the government is a lie. We saw the cabinet paper. It was leased to the government for 10 years. When this agreement ends, the former owner will take it back. This is gambling. Neville Fernando has taken loans worth over 3 billion rupees from Bank of Ceylon. He was told to settle those debts. His hospital has been leased to the government. The government has to pay Neville Fernando to maintain the hospital. It is clear what they're trying to do. After a period of time, they will say that SITEM is up to standard and the Medical Council should grant permission for it to be legalized. The government is letting an issue that can be solved drag on. We will fight for this and prevail.
කටයුතු කරන බව අපි අවධාරණය කරනවා.
Neville Fernandoගෙන් ආණ්ඩුවට අය වෙන්න තියෙන ණය මුදල් තියෙන.
Neville Fernando is in debt to the government. Considering the value of the Neville Fernando Hospital and the amount of loans that Neville Fernando has taken, a value estimation should be done to find out whether this is handed over to the government or leased. However, the increasing number of government hospitals is good.
රජයේ රෝහල් ඉඩකඩ වැඩිවීම හොඳයි.
රෝහල විතරක් අරගෙන වැඩක් තියෙනවද?
What is the point of taking over the Neville Fernando Hospital without taking over Saitam? It is doubtful whether the parents and students who went through so many difficulties will accept this decision. The Saitam institution is making profits, while the Neville Fernando Hospital is in the red. The cabinet paper which has been issued also proves that it is making losses. Until the loans are paid off to the Bank of Ceylon, the hospital is owned by Neville Fernando. Only a few patients are admitted to the Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital. Therefore, the administration of the hospital has faced great difficulty. On the other hand, they struggle to find money for maintenance. The number of patients are inadequate for medical students to engage in clinical training. The government is taking over the Neville Fernando Hospital to solve the owner's problems.
We don't believe that taking over the Neville Fernando Hospital by the government or donating the hospital by Dr. Neville Fernando to the government is going to be a solution to this issue. If this trend continues, each and every company in this country or group of companies in the country will start donating their loss-making arms or loss-making institutions to the government. At a time when the government is trying to restructure their loss-making institutes, it's contradictory that the government is taking over a loss-making institute from a management that has been trying to fraudulently and by sneaking through loopholes in the law to establish themselves.
Meanwhile, members of trade unions, students and parents associations along with the Government Medical Officers Association held talks with representatives of a number of embassies and high commissions in the country today. The visits were aimed at raising awareness among the international community on issues related to the Saitam crisis.
Representatives from trade unions, students and parents associations, along with the Government Medical Officers Association, called on the Chinese Embassy, the Russian Embassy and the High Commissions of Britain and Australia today. They met with representatives of the respective diplomatic missions to outline the Saitam issue, as well as the attack on university students who attempted to forcibly enter the Ministry of Health last month.
The purpose of this event is to make the international people aware about the situation with regard to the brutal attack at the health ministry. There are about 5 students remanded yet without any evidence to prove that they are guilty. The police should produce that evidence. If not, please release them as early as possible, because this is really a human right violation. And the other thing is that Saitam issue is a fraudulent institutions. We want to the authority informed that please settle this issue without delay. Otherwise, this is going to be a huge calamity in the country.
The Government Medical Officers Association also touched on the meetings at a media briefing today.
We hope to meet the Commissioner of the British High Commission in near future, our friend, getting an appointment to explain the clear situation in the country and the Saitam crisis.
There are so many individuals and bodies outside in the world who are ready to fight in Sri Lanka, who are ready to keep Sri Lanka in net.
If you are going to safeguard the human rights in the country, that's the main duty of the government. Then the people don't want to go behind the ambassadors or the other people. But finally, this thing had gone to the president's level and the prime minister's level. After it, where these people go? So they have to tell to the international regarding what is going on in the country.
Let's move on to other local stories now. President Maithripala Sirisena emphasizes that the present government will end the garbage issue without passing it to a future government. The president made these remarks participating in a function held in Colombo today.
The president was taking part in the Tirasara Lanka United Efforts for Sustainability held at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute today.
No government implemented a proper program regarding waste management. The problem was not apparent until garbage dumps collapsed on us, and Meethoramulla is an example of that. The collapse did not only affect the people but also the government. Our country has adapted a culture which does not exist anywhere in the world. Objections are made by the public against garbage dumping, and there are politicians behind this. Nowhere in the world do politicians sleep on the road protesting the dumping of waste. Such incidents take place since we are, as a country, have not implemented an awareness program regarding waste management, and there were no scientific method brought in to solve this problem. I say that we will conclude the garbage issue in Sri Lanka, and we will not let any future governments face problems due to unsystematic garbage dumping.
Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena also expressed his views regarding the upcoming local government elections.
It's likely that in January, the new chairman will take positions in local government bodies. In this regard, we have completed everything that we need to do. Accordingly, the necessary legislation will be tabled in the parliament next week. Many problems in this country can be solved if we think patriotically.
We'll be right back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that it is vital to continue the national government with the participation of the United National Party and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party despite any difficulties. He was speaking at an event in Panipitiya today.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe participated in a ceremony launching Phase 2 of the Viyatpura proposed housing scheme, which was organised by the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development. 6 billion rupees will be spent on building 500 houses under this project.
There is a 4.2 trillion rupee debt which must be paid off within 3 years. We need a competitive trade economy to pay this off. This was the reason we decided that a national government is needed. We are gaining funds and we are initiating massive projects. We took control of the loans which many said couldn't be paid off. SLFP and UNP are not working together for profit. It is difficult for two different parties to work together, but as this benefits the country, we should continue working together.
So will parliamentarians from the government cross over to the opposition or not? Here are the views of several politicians on the matter. According to where things are going, it looks like more than 18 will cross over, mainly because they will not be able to return to their constituency. We hope all who embrace the future of this country will stand by the people without seeking personal gain. The President informed SLFP members of the government to be patient until the 31st of December. It looks like there is unrest within the government. They seem to want to abandon this government before that. If not, there is no need for such statements. It shows that two policies cannot coexist in one platform. I am also a member of the SLFP, but we were not told to be part of this, mainly because we are in the opposition. What I wonder is whether these MPs can be patient until such time. According to the way things are going, it is indeed dangerous. There is a question of whether the parliamentarians or the people will stay patient for that long. I would like to state clearly that people will say various things, but keep one thing in mind. The very same person who says this government is going to end is the one who destroys himself. So it is up to you, the public, to believe the very person who ended himself that now says the government will end. Parliamentarian Bandula Gunawardena, representing the joint opposition, today met the chief prelates of the Askiri and Malwatha chapters, expressing the joint opposition's displeasure about the Inland Revenue Act, which is to be passed in the parliament. Following his discussions with Venerable Warakagoda Sri Jnana Ratna Thera and Venerable Niyangoda Sri Vijitha Siddhi Thera, the parliamentarian visited the Rajopanarama temple in Gattambe to hold further talks with Venerable Kappetiyagoda Sri Vimala Nayaka Thera.
Instead of the present act, the government is trying to bring in a new act. The new act will enforce a 14% tax on all religious places. As the joint opposition, we believe that religious places that encounter financial difficulties should be provided with relief. The concessions which were given during President Mahinda Rajapaksa's tenure should continue. We do not ask for new relief. Please provide them with what they had before. Most of the promises have not been kept. People had a lot of expectations when this government was formed, but we see a completely different picture. I read a story in today's newspaper about parents who pawned a knife to buy money for their son. Everyone remembers the nation, religion and country when they're in the opposition. These leaders do not have a proper plan. You have to be stronger.
Also in local stories, parliamentarian Udaya Gammanpilla challenges police media spokesperson Superintendent of Police Ruwan Gunasekara to a debate on the arrest of former Navy spokesperson Commodore DKP Dasanayake over the abduction of 11 youths between 2008 and 2009. The parliamentarian issued the challenge at a media briefing today, adding that police cannot act in a partisan manner. The police media spokesperson engaged in an extremely deplorable effort to insinuate that Commodore DKP Dasanayake is behind that extortion, kidnappings and disappearances. The police media spokesperson says he has evidence that the parents of the abductees met with Commodore Dasanayake. This is a lie. I challenge the police media spokesperson to a debate on this. Yesterday, the police media spokesperson said investigations were happening much faster since the current government came into power. The police has no right to compare governments or be partisan while on duty. A 51-page report was compiled after the Attorney General's Department investigated this case. According to that report, there is no evidence to make any charges against Commodore Dasanayake.
Commodore Dasanayaketa එරෙහිව කිසිම චෝදනාවක් නැගීමට සාක්ෂි ලැබිලා නැහැ.
Now, staying on the subject, a group of parents of the 11 youths who were abducted between 2008 and 2009 requested political parties not to use the incident as an opportunity to gain political favour. They expressed these views in response to a statement made by parliamentarian Vimal Veeravansa, who allegedly attached the involvement of the disappeared youth to the LTTE.
The group of parents clarified that the motive behind the abductions was ransom.
Our children were arrested without a reason. We have been attending hearings from 2009 and it is us who know about this issue. Minister Vimal Veeravansa does not know anything about this case. I believe our children are still alive and the reason why they do not want to return our children is because they bear witness to other abductions in which blood was shed. The former government knew about the incident and it was only recently that a decision was taken to conduct our hearing in open courts. We kindly request all parties to allow the CID to conduct investigations without any interference. There are 5 Navy personnel who are yet to be arrested, but the CID said that they are all abroad. The same was said by the former government as well.
Parents also alleged that former Navy media spokesperson Commodore DKP Dasanayake is responsible for the abductions.
DKP Dasanayake knows everything. We saw his children and family crying in front of the media, but we have been crying for the past 9 years. I only have one son who they say is from the LTTE. Are you telling us that it is after 9 years that you identified them to be from the LTTE?
Now, here's a look at other stories making news across Sri Lanka. The case filed against the former General Secretary of the United National Party, Thisapta Naika, who was accused of allegedly fabricating documents, was taken up for consideration by the Colombo High Court today. President Maithripala Sirisena, who ran for the presidency as the common candidate of the UNP, and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was then opposition leader, were named as the first and second respondents of the case. Both were represented by counsels when the case was taken up today, as they were busy in their new portfolios. However, Colombo High Court Judge Nisanka Nanakara today reissued summons to the 2 respondents to appear before courts. The hearing has been scheduled to take place from the 4th to the 12th of December. A pedestrian who attempted to cross the road in a haphazard manner was knocked down by a motorcyclist in Uduvara along the Badula Bandarvela main road. The incident was captured by a CCTV camera in a nearby shop and the victim of the accident was unhurt. Pepper farmers in Kolonna engaged in a protest against the low prices of pepper today and requested the government to increase prices for their produce. Protesters were seen blocking the Kolonna Ambalipitia in Kayagama for 1 hour.
UNP parliamentarian B. Aryavansa requested the immediate halt of the protest and told farmers that a solution will be tabled to address the issue. Discussions between the All Island Lanka Farmers Federation and the Line Minister pertaining to the matter were held this evening. Animal activists expressed outrage on social media after a video of at least 23 dogs and several cats being injected with toxic substances by persons inside the University of Moratuwa went viral last week. Minister of Provincial Council and Local Government Faisal Mustafa commented on the issue today. I wish to state that I have not ordered the killings of dogs and I am not responsible for such actions. Sri Lanka is a Buddhist country and killing dogs goes against the principles of the government. But we do know that stray dogs are a problem and we need to find a solution for this matter.
Let's move on to business news now. Minister of Finance Mangala Samaraweera says Sri Lanka is fully committed to eradicating financial crimes and is in the process of fixing gaps identified in the anti-money laundering and terror financing framework. The minister made these remarks at the annual meeting of the Asia Pacific Group on money laundering in Colombo today.
Ample evidence that Sri Lanka is a country that has shed its war-torn, conflict-ridden image and has now come up in the global rankings as a peaceful country, committed in the global fight against money laundering and terrorism financing, corruption and drug trafficking. In fact, we are not yet completely out of the woods, and that several areas still remain with regard to effective implementation of tasks and issues highlighted in the MER of 2015. A national policy was formulated and passed early last year by the Cabinet to oversee that the progress is achieved in many areas. We have come out of a fairly challenging period of time where corruption was rampant and we have taken measures to rally against it. We should be able to achieve more and travel our journey towards eradicating all sorts of crime with the support of the international community.
Loves Gas Bangladesh, part of the diversified Sri Lankan multinational Loves Holdings, said it is planning to set up a cylinder manufacturing plant in Bangladesh. Loves Gas Bangladesh currently operates a world-class LPG import, bottling and distribution facility in Mongol Port in Bangladesh. It serves domestic and industrial segments with its 12-kilogram cylinders for households and 12-kilogram and 45-kilogram cylinders for commercial and industrial customers under the brand name Loves Gas. Let's now take a look at a few other stories making news in the corporate world.
Sri Lankan Airlines launched a local direct dial number for the airline's Chinese customers, which will connect them directly with Mandarin-speaking customer service staff at its global contact center. The airline said customers within China can dial 0400 120 1979 and Mandarin-speaking agents will be available between 3:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Colombo time, 365 days of the year, which will shortly be expanded to cover round-the-clock service on working days. Mandarin-speaking travelers outside China can dial +86 400 120 1979 to speak to a Sri Lankan agent in Mandarin. The National Workshop on Information Technology Agreement was held in Colombo recently. The event was organized by the Department of Commerce and the Ministry of Industry and Commerce in collaboration with the World Trade Organization. Speaking at the event, Minister Rishad Baduddin said that Sri Lanka is the first South Asian nation to introduce market-based economic reforms. The launch of Ask the Expert, a customer-centric promotional campaign, was held in Colombo recently. The event was organized by Finco Engineering Private Limited with the aim of promoting Finco's diverse activities tailored to different customer segments as well as the launch of its website. The Ask the Expert Hub will provide access to engineers and technical officers in the company for those seeking technical advice.
Sri Lankan stocks were lower after close today as losses in the footwear and textile, motor and investment trust sectors led shares lower. At the close in Colombo, the CSE all share declined 0.37%. Here's Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange with all the details from the trading flow.
Top 5 gainers of the day were Adam Capital, Royal Palms Beach Hotel, Ceylon Hotel Corporation, Anlana Hotels and Lucky Lanka non-voting, while the top 5 losers were Century Investments and Finance, Satosa Motors, Amanata Kaful, Hikado Beach Resort and People's Merchant.
On to sports now. After a spirited fight back on day 3 of the only test against Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe were able to consolidate their lead, being bowled out for 377, having begun the day's play on 252 for 6. The hosts began their chase in today's afternoon session and went into stumps with a score of 170 for 3, needing to score another 218 runs tomorrow in order to win the match.
Yesterday's hero Sikandar Raza brought up his maiden test century off the second ball of the day, but lost his partner Malcolm Waller early for 68. Raza departed for 127, with Rangana Herat completing his second 5-wicket haul of the match, his 31st overall. Skipper Graham Creamer was the last Zimbabwe player to fall for a fighting 48, with the visitors setting Sri Lanka a 4th innings target of 388 to win. Sri Lanka were again solid in their first batting session, going into tea at 56 for no loss, but Upul Taranga fell for 27 to Creamer, who bowled 19 consecutive overs to end the day. Sean Williams bowled Dimut Karnaratne for 49 with a delivery that turned prodigiously from the off, before Dinesh Chandimal became Creamer's 7th victim of the match. Kusal Mendes was able to fight off apparent discomfort with his hamstring to end the day at 60 not out, partnered by Angelo Matthews on 17, with Sri Lanka requiring another 218 runs on day 5 with 7 wickets in hand.
With the bat.
Moving on to international news now, with the diplomatic crisis shutting off Qatar from its Gulf neighbours showing no signs of abating, the United Arab Emirates has called for international monitoring of Qatar to ensure that it no longer backs terrorist groups. The UAE State Minister of Foreign Affairs Anwar Gargash made the assertion today, also refuting allegations that the UAE was behind the hacking of Qatari news sites prior to the inception of the diplomatic crisis.
In London on a visit intended to rally diplomatic support for the Gulf states' embargo on Qatar, UAE's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Anwar Gargash said a Western monitoring mechanism will be needed to force Qatar to abide by any agreement to end its alleged support for terrorism. It is the first suggestion from the countries blockading Qatar that outside intervention may be needed to end the crisis, with Gargash adding that they had zero trust in Qatar. Gargash also asserted that the UAE was not responsible for any alleged hacking of Qatari government social media and news sites. Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani had been falsely quoted in May as praising Hamas and saying that Iran was an Islamic power, triggering the diplomatic crisis.
Also in international news, Indian lawmakers voted to choose their 14th president today, with National Democratic Alliance candidate Ram Nath Kovind facing off against joint opposition candidate Meera Kumar. The electorate, comprising a total of 4,896 members of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and assemblies, is tilted in favouring of former Bihar Governor Kovind. The opposition, however, is working to garner support from regional parties for Meera Kumar. The results of the election will be declared on the 20th of this month.
A very good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, starting off with a look at your temperatures tonight. Temperatures can vary between 29 and 30 degrees Celsius over the next 24 hours in key cities across the island. Meanwhile, strong gusts of wind of about 50 kilometers per hour may be experienced in many parts of the island, particularly in the central, western, Sabaragamuwa areas as well as the Matale and Hambantota districts. However, fair weather will continue over most provinces of the island, with intermittent showers expected in the western province as well as in the Sabaragamuwa province. Let's now take a look at the city-by-city forecast.
And that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Mahish Johnny. Indivri Amortha will join you tomorrow first at 9. Be sure to join her then. And before we go, we like to leave you with visuals of undersea off the coast of Kalpitia, most famously known for whale and dolphin watching. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.